Ready, steady, go. Meet the brand new DJI Agris T50. Ag drone spraying demands extreme efficiency to protect crops from diseases, pests, and weeds. The DJI Agris T50 has a 40 kilogram spraying payload and can cover up to 21 hectares per hour. Equipped with a dual atomizing spraying system, it produces fine, uniform spray droplets. The flow rate is increased by 33% to 16 liters per minute. For large volume operations such as fields and orchards. For orchards and forestry spraying, DJI Agris T50 can be upgraded with a pair of centrifugal sprinklers, increasing flow rate up to 24 liters per minute, extending coverage to the tops and bottoms of leaves. DJI Agris T50's brand new solenoid valves completely eliminate drips and leaks. Spreading fertilizer over large areas requires elite power. The DJI Agris T50 has a 50 kilogram spreading payload and a flow rate of up to 108 kilograms per minute. We've doubled the spreader motor's torque and designed a new spiral channel spinning disc to spread material more uniformly. You can also switch to smaller hopper gates for lower flow rate spreading with higher precision. When facing complex environments, the DJI Agris T50's active phased array radar, with double the number of RF channels, grants higher detection precision. Together with its rear phased array radar, DJI Agris T50 can achieve multi-directional obstacle sensing. With 2 sets of binocular vision sensors, it can accurately sense terrain and depict obstacles in detail for automatic obstacle bypassing and terrain following over steep slopes. The radar system works with a high-resolution FPV gimbal camera and can conduct aerial surveys of slopes up to 20 degrees to meet most orchard operation needs. With DJI RC Plus and its real-time mapping capabilities, automatic
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Devin. I'm one of the area development managers here at SkyDrones and one of the training coordinators. I'm here with Patrick Earle. Patrick, maybe you can introduce yourself.
Hey folks, my name is Patrick. I'm the area development manager for Ontario, Quebec, and happy to be here to spend some time with you and share some things about drones.
Absolutely. So together what we're going to be discussing today is the question that we first posed, is now the time for agricultural drones in Canada? So what we're going to be looking at is how the drones themselves, and DJI in particular, is making a huge impact on markets around the world. And we want to see how that comes back locally and how that affects us. And then as SkyDrones as a distributor, how it is that we want to partner with our dealers in order to make sure that we can keep up with this change in doing that. So,
Yeah.
And then we look at, well, who are we at SkyDrones? So SkyDrones is an established Canadian distributor of DJI agricultural drones. We support farmers, dealers, entrepreneurs, other end users across the country. And what our focus is to provide not only top-notch products, but we also want to do innovative solutions, and we want to reinforce all of that with really good, exceptional training and support to all our customers and dealers.
Yeah, absolutely, Dev. And so today, really, we're going to be talking about really 4 main areas. If I can bring up our slide there. Yeah, so we're going to be looking really at what's on the market right now, right? What's traditional methods of agricultural spraying. Then we're going to be really diving in a little bit to why drones might have a little bit of an advantage. We'll also be looking at whether or not, and really why we're here, you should have a sense of urgency about becoming a dealer, or is this something that you can just put off down the road as you see, more and more opportunities grow in the marketplace? The DJI will be the next topic. Really, why and how DJI is revolutionizing the agricultural market globally. And then why SkyDrones, right? Our little personal plug about why maybe you should consider partnering with us.
Absolutely. So even to begin, we can start looking at even traditional farming. If we'll go right back to the beginning, let's see how is it that traditional farming is working right now. What do we have, Pat?
Yeah, so obviously, as our slide shows, we've got the faithful backpack sprayers.
Gotta love those.
Yeah, right. Obviously, they probably still have some applications, but by and large, an inexpensive product, but really costly in labor. They're extremely inefficient compared to our other methods we'll be highlighting today.
Yep.
And of course, maybe most importantly, they expose workers to harmful chemicals. So,
Yeah.
here in Canada, I would imagine there's pretty limited use of them.
Yeah, just a small little patches you see that.
Yeah. And then, of course, now we're talking about the productivity beasts, right? Our big ground sprayers, our high boom sprayers, lots of coverage, but they have their own inherent problems, right? They do cause soil compaction, and that has to be factored in when we're considering overall yield. They can cause crop damage. They also have difficulty getting in, obviously, to the nooks and crannies just by their sheer size.
Yep.
They also struggle with terrain issues. And maybe most importantly, they are not effective when the weather conditions are wet. And when farmers need to work, they need to work. And wet conditions can certainly put a damper on their work.
Nicely put.
Yeah, but ground sprayers typically cost, like that. That's one of the other inhibiting factors, of course, is that they're let's be honest, they're a very expensive piece of equipment, which, as a dealer, that's a nice thing to be able to have somebody write that check to you, but it does provide them a disadvantage in the marketplace when we're talking about whether one product or another product is going to be chosen by an end user down the road.
Yeah, it gives you some options when we're looking at other stuff here too. So
Yeah.
what else did you have?
Yeah, so then we got our aerial spray, whether it's a manned helicopter, fixed wing aircraft. Obviously, as our little video shows, these methods are workhorses, but they also have their inherent problems. It's a costly
Yeah.
service. Most farmers don't have their own planes. It's also very imprecise. They have a really difficult time getting even coverage on a crop, and it once again introduces unnecessary hazard to operators. Obviously, someone's got to be in that plane flying it around and flying like what out of hell.
Absolutely. And then even when you're messing around with obstacles in the middle of the field as well. So
Yeah,
that does add to the danger of that aspect. And even, like you said, the
absolutely.
precision that's going on with that.
Yeah, so true.
So when we look at that, so we can see that traditionally is working. There are things that are happening, but when we look at drones themselves, now we can start seeing the advantages of drones, because now instead of just throwing things everywhere, we're getting down to actually leveraging precision technology. And so even using precision technology, you'd think it would be extraordinarily expensive and difficult to get into, but that is not the case with the drones, in that they do lower your equipment and operational costs compared to those other methods,
They
except
sure
for
do.
perhaps maybe the ground, maybe perhaps the backpack sprayer that you can get that just about anywhere. And a big thing with it is you're targeting your application. So now when you're putting the product where you need it, when you need it, that increases your efficiency, your efficacy, your operator safety, like you had mentioned before, and that reduces your chemical and water usage at the same time. So by doing this, you're not only helping with that aspect, but now you're giving yourself the ability to do patch treatments or spot treatments of
Yeah,
both liquids and all your granular materials too, because we're going to remember that this does all your granular as well, right?
yeah,
So
absolutely.
what would you say about the flexibility of the drones themselves over that,
Yeah, they're
over
incredibly
traditional?
flexible in what they are able to do, whether that's a weather scenario, right?
Mhm.
They are IP55. Am I right there, Dev? So
Yeah.
they're almost nearly waterproof. So in light rain, you could still be flying these, but definitely after rain immediately, which is such a optimal time when other people are sitting on the sidelines, not able to spray, not able to drop seed, right?
Yep.
Operators with drones are back at work, and that's a
Yep.
really important factor. And then the irregular terrain. I think you mentioned a
Exactly.
statistic about how steep a terrain our T50s can work on. It's incredible.
That's working up around like 50 degrees is where that's working in those kind of things. Not something you'd even want a backpack prayers to do. And
No,
we know nothing else will do that at the same time.
that guy would hate you.
Yeah, no joke. Okay. And we got to think too, like even when you're looking at that, how about the small, irregularly shaped fields? You're not getting
Yeah,
your high clearance sprayer in there. How do you get that aerial sprayed? Like it really limits you in that aspect with traditional methods, as opposed to this. It can be remote locations because, of course, you're flying out to it,
That
etc.
absolutely, yeah. Obstacles on the in a field, whether it's your water systems and things like that, like they're not an issue for a drone, but they have to be constantly mindful when you're using something like ground sprayers.
Absolutely. No, for sure. And then the last little thing with that is looking at weather conditions. There's conditions that you cannot even aerial, like if you need big acres put out, but aerial spraying, that's not going to work in low cloud conditions, for instance. But your drone, it's operating in those conditions day and night, which I know people don't want to work 24 hours a day, but it is available there to be able to do
Yeah,
that in the best conditions. It gives you more control over what you're actually doing.
yeah.
No, that's absolutely it. So do you see, as we see here, the urgency to embrace the drone technology? Can you talk to us about that for a little bit there, Patrick? Give us an
Yeah,
idea
of
of where we're
course.
sitting.
Because at the end of the day, this is a business conversation we're having today. We're not necessarily trying to hype to end users that they should buy drones today. Really, we're talking to people that are possibly looking at this as an opportunity, whether they're an entrepreneur, maybe they're a business manager at a current heavy iron
Yeah,
dealership, and they're trying to decide, is this something we can incorporate and maintain our levels of profitability, maintain our, is this going to add to operating costs and things like that? So
yeah,
when we look at global trends, that helps us to see where is the industry going, right? Because that's so important.
yeah.
We want to have a crystal ball, as it were, and to be able to say, well, am I going to have an advantage over my neighbor at the end of the day? Because we
Mm-hmm.
all want to win. When we're running business, we want to win. So global trends are to adopt drones. If you look
Yes.
at countries with favorable drone regulations regarding crop spraying, upwards of 300% growth over the past 5 years. That's insane. That's
Yeah.
crazy. Worldwide estimates are in around, and you could go to different statisticians and they'll give you slightly different numbers here and there, but basically somewhere in the ballpark, 4 to 5 billion in 2023. That's going to trend to 30 billion by 2030, which
Yeah.
is, I think, Dev, my math's not the best, but 30% year over year ish. I think most people, if they were saying, I'm going to try to join a business model,
Mm-hmm.
which one would I join? Well, one that's showing a growth pattern of 30% annual growth year over year, that would be a pretty safe bet. And
Absolutely.
the reality is in this, the overall markets are not necessarily growing in North America. It's the drone market. And so what we mean by that is, as our last part of our slide says, traditional methods are losing market share to drones. And we've seen that in sales in Canada here,
Mm-hmm.
where heavy equipment sales are down the past 2 years in some areas, but drone growth is continuing to accelerate. So once the last few issues drop, it's going to be pretty impressive. It's going to be an exciting time to be part of drones.
Well, look at the opportunities that we have, that individuals have now. Be you an equipment operator, like an operator or an equipment company. How about entrepreneurs that see something, and like we'll talk about that a little bit more later on.
Yeah.
But of course, even the embracing of that is by many different sectors, be it the equipment operators, I said, or the entrepreneurs, or the end users, because that's not changing. When you're looking at that kind of growth, it's 5 years isn't an awful long time. 2030 isn't far enough away, I guess you
No,
could
it's not
say.
far away at all, really.
And how many industries can you say that are going from 40 and then jumping up to 50 billion or 30 billion? Sorry. So that gives an opportunity for a lot of people, or certain individuals that want to be a part of it. It gives them the opportunity to really be on the groundbreaking
Yeah.
aspect
And
of
the
this whole
vast
thing.
majority of that growth, Dev, sorry to interrupt. I was going to say the
Mm,
vast majority of that growth is in North America. So it's going to be the
interesting.
United States. And once, like I said, once the stars align,
Yeah,
the Canada is going to be rapidly on its heels.
absolutely. There's a lot of stuff to be done here for sure. And again,
Yeah.
looking at other countries, see where they've gone, and they're under stricter regulations than we are even.
Yeah.
And we can see that the results that they've had, and they're not going back.
No.
Even the operators, listen to any of them. So
Yeah.
yeah, it is definitely something to go forward with for sure.
Yeah. If you look at Ecuador, there's a
Mm-hmm.
country with strict regulations because of their terrain, because of the number of rivers they have. they've almost
Yeah.
mandated drones. They've basically given them favorable positioning because of all the factors we discussed.
Yeah, absolutely. So going through all that kind of stuff, it kind of makes me think, or gives a good point to actually bring out, in that for ones, or for ones that do not embrace this technology or delay, put it off a little ways, that actually is something that's going to make a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
You can have the risk of being either left behind or being behind, even a little bit, if not completely left behind, because these what would you call it? I guess the solutions that we have there are actually growing, not only in scope but also in pace. So it's a large area, growing larger, but it's doing so faster. And the technology with DJI drones is the one that's at the forefront of this whole thing.
Absolutely.
So what do you think about here in Canada? Is that something that, I know you said North America, but now we're looking in Canada itself. We're kind of on the cusp of something pretty important, don't you think?
Yeah, all you have to do is, Dev, if and you've been, you go to the trade shows and at the ag shows, and who has
Yeah.
a busy booth, right? And everyone I've been to, people are interested in the drones. They have their concerns, but overall, there's a mass interest in drone technology,
Yep.
whether it's our small Mavic 3Ms or it's our T50s, which is just an incredible piece of hardware. The demand is growing upwards and continuing to get stronger. As it mentions on our slide, a revolution. We are right on the cusp of it. So
Yep.
when we talk about that, do we want to be at joining at that time, or do we want to be in after the wave has already started to crash through, right? Because
And you
once,
can,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, just kind of on what you were talking at the trade shows, the ones that we work at when we're talking to people, the booths are full, but it's with a wide range of individuals. See, the children,
Yeah.
of course, the young ones, everybody loves drones. I like flying them. They're great to fly, but that keeps the interest up because those are the ones that are going to be running the farm tomorrow. And then you see the other ones who have done the traditional methods their entire life, and they also see the advantages of this. So it's something, in those booths you get to see a total cross section of everyone that is interested in using them.
Yeah, absolutely. So the process is already well along. We should let people know that. I know there's often misconceptions about where things are at with the PMRA, but the reality is the process is long established. They are, set to start dropping products.
Yep.
But that should encourage people even that they're not there yet, because that's the time to get in. Right? That's the time to
Yep.
get in. There's still usefulness for drones. We're selling drones. Our competitors are selling drones. Uh, the dealers out there that are currently existing are selling lots of drones. And the reason being is because only one piece of that puzzle is being, you could say, limited. The rest of its usefulness, its ability to spread and spray and do organic and do mapping and all that, that's all still there. And
Yep.
so farmers are seeing that, and they're like, I want to be ahead of the curve on this. I want to be ready to go when everything's ready and at my disposal, at my fingertips.
Absolutely. It's as much as your imagination can take you, basically, once you look into it. And we'll touch on it a bit more. It's not just the spraying of chemicals, but greenhouses. There's so many different applications for it and stuff like that. So although, like you said, it's limited in the one area, that's not something that could actually stop us from going forward and using the drones to their ability and all that kind of stuff.
Mining, oil and gas. These are all sectors. Government agencies are starting to make phone calls about these drones because they want to be part of it. They're finding applications for usage.
Absolutely. Yep. It's all across the board. No, for sure. So we look at all those things, we can see how important they are in the shift. Is it something that's difficult, time consuming, etc., to actually become a part of either, a dealer for sky drones or an end user for it? What's kind of what the process? What are we looking at for time, for instance?
Yeah, it's a great question. And Avery, if you could move to the next slide, it really, it presents the challenges, right? Are there major obstacles to being a user and being a dealer? So obviously there are regulatory, things that you have to do. You have to become an advanced pilot and things like that. But the overall cost return on investment, whether you're an end user, we're talking in many applications, one season. And the farmers have paid for it just by better productivity, right? Better yield production and so on. When you talk about a dealer, the entry point is less than $100,000. And that's really just your equipment that you're going to be moving, hopefully, right? Like the goal
Just
is
goes on,
right? The goal is to sell that stuff. Time consuming? No. Realistically, if you're an entrepreneur that fits the model of a great partner for DJI and Skydrones, I mean, we're talking a couple weeks, not months and months and months before you can be operational and selling drones.
Absolutely. And it's not a straight up 24 hours a day trying to figure this out. If you're looking over a period of 4 or 5 days, that includes also our dealer training, which brings you right from step one through to the part where you're comfortable with the drones, which again, we'll talk on a little bit more about that, but it includes that as well. So it's a full package that gets you from the beginning, your application, right through to being able to put some out the door. Yeah. And then there's continuing education with that, but that's with all things. There's things you can always learn.
Yeah, absolutely. We talk about aftercare, right?
Yes.
For many product lines, for any heavy equipment users or heavy equipment dealers that are on the call today, they have weeks and weeks and weeks invested in getting their staff trained, right? Upgraded on new product lines. The turnaround curve for us is more like days and days, right? Because of the way the drones are designed to be modular, to be easy to repair, right? So that learn curve is so much shorter. And same with the training of sales staff, really important. So being able to ramp up is really important in any business. And that's what DJI and Skydrones is partnered to provide for our dealers and end users.
Absolutely. Yeah. We got, so we've kind of looked at the way it was, where we're looking at and where drones are, why that's important, kind of touched on a bit of the regulations, et cetera. They're definitely aligned to be dropping. So the chemicals is not an issue in the near future. That's going to be happening. But now, why are we looking at DJI drones in specific?
Yeah.
Let's talk about them specifically. With just one point that really always has got me when you're looking at a piece of equipment is oftentimes it's single use, many times. But when you're talking the drone, we got 3 operations with the DJI. Now with our T50, doing all your spreading, fertilizer seeding, broadcast seeding, etc. You're spraying, and then you also got your surveying, laying out your fields and all that kind of stuff as well, which was huge. It's a 3-for-1.
Absolutely. And then when we just look at statistical numbers, right? We look at brand awareness. We look at things like that. When we're a business owner, we're trying to find, how easily identifiable is my product. Well, DJI is the market leader, 70% market share, close to 90% brand awareness compared to any other product that's currently on the market. That's huge. That gives them a strategic advantage in the marketplace. Any good business owner would recognize that for sure.
Well, and who doesn't know DJI?
Exactly. Whether they know them on a consumer basis, or enterprise, or now in Agris.
Yes.
So we kind of refer to the equipment side of it as the DJI has the 3-fold edge. And what we mean by that, Dev, is that we have hardware, software, and pricing advantage. So is there products on the market that could give you a similar statistic for lift capacity to our T50? Yes, there is, right? Do the other brands have software? Yes, they do. Are their prices in the similar ballpark?
They're all over the place.
They're kind of all over the place. But where DJI has the market cornered is in its collective basis. Our software is so simplified. The hardware is so well made and so advanced in its operation. When you put the whole package together, nobody really can compete with the DJI advantage. And that's only going to continue because even if a competitor came in the market right now and they had the best engineers on the planet, they still would be using today's technology to build off of. And DJI is already going to be that much further ahead. Right?
It's just going to keep going.
It's just going to keep going. So they're always going to be, they're just at that place. They're the monster in the room. And we can have the privilege of being part of that, right? So as growth continues across Canada, we have to think, well, right now there's open windows. There's an opportunity or an open door of opportunity to get in. But once the market has, you could say, saturated with the dealers, that window is going to be closed, or the door is
Yes.
going to be closed, right?
Yeah.
It's just not going to be available because the network is going to be established, and it is going to be that much harder to then approach DJI, approach a distributor and say, we want to be a dealer for DJI. You're probably going to be looking at those second tier options if you want to be in the drone market. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Because then you look at that. So now even when you got X amount of dealers, but the one thing is about the market itself, that is constantly going to be evolving and changing as we're looking at different technology coming in, different drones coming through.
Yep.
So your audience and your customer base, that will grow. So that's something you can look at as well. That it's not that part isn't static, and it is something that's going to continue, particularly with as new drone models come out, new methods, new standardization with regards to PMRA, etc., like that.
Yeah.
That's the part that is going to be changing and growing consistently, and that's what we want to encourage people to be a part of or give the opportunity to do so.
Yeah, at the end of the day, we want to be one of those ones in the analogy of musical chairs, right? We want to we want to have it. We want to have a chair at the end of the day, right? We don't want to be left without the chair.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So I was thinking a little bit about the actual drones themselves and why they're such like game changers, because you see the customers really glomming onto them and accepting them. And one thing that makes it so different is not only it's being able to use in various situations. They're versatile. They're indispensable in so many ways. And one thing that really helps to do that is that prop wash. I wanted to mention that before we went any further, simply because it is such an important aspect of this for your full coverage of your plants.
Yeah.
Be them potatoes with lots of foliage, corn, tall stuff. So that's also that the technology that goes into that, how it's done, makes such a huge difference for an application as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the ease of, like, I always think of the ease of use. Dev, my little anecdotal experience, I was out in my head office and training in January, and the management was so welcoming to allow me to bring my son to sit in on the trainings. And so he put his hands on the controller for the first time, and within 10 minutes, he had already plotted out a route without ever having seen one of these things before. So it shows you that it is such a user-friendly product. Once people start to learn how to use them and they see that, it's a no-brainer to include them in the equipment that they have on their facilities, on their farms, and their farming operations.
Absolutely. When you see them coming through the training, which we'll touch on again a little bit more, but it's nice to see when individuals come in completely, it's a new technology. So it's something that's very foreign. But by the time the training course is done, as you get through it, there's a familiarity and a smile, knowing that they have this under control. It's really nice. So when we look at, so we're seeing so many advantages with the drones themselves. Now, if we get down to sky drones, what is it that sky drones themselves offers now that we know the drones themselves are important and that market is going in one direction and that's up? How does sky drones come involved?
Yeah, so I think, obviously this is sort of our hype piece, so I hope I can speak to it. But the reality, when I came on board, what I saw was a company committed to providing the best of everything they could for their dealers. They were invested in growing the dealer network, but also in supporting them. So our dealer training is second to none. Yourself and the other team members that have put the training program together have worked really hard to make sure that when our new dealers leave that training, they aren't just excited about getting started, they are prepared to get going, right? It doesn't matter whether it's a division of a big ag equipment company or whether it's a small entrepreneur that is excited to get going in the business. And then our strategic distribution. So we're not a one location company. We've got 2 distribution locations, and we're planning on adding more as the months go by, to make sure that not only can you get the products you need, but you have the ability to get them in a timely fashion. Because as we know in the farming industry, when farmers want something, they want it now. And so the faster you can get that product to them, the higher your satisfaction rating is as a dealer. And that only ends increasing your bottom line. And then,
Absolutely.
oh, sorry. I was just going to say, and then
Just agreeing with you, buddy.
yeah, absolutely. So our dedicated ADM, so our area development managers, is a unique thing that our company, Sky Drones, has really worked hard to develop. It's different than so many other distributors out there. And the reason being is we provide concierge service to our dealers. So you're getting like another employee that you're not necessarily paying for, right? And that's customized, Dev. So
Yep.
every dealer is going to be unique. And
Yes.
so we work hard to make sure that not only do we pair the right people, but we have the training, the service that you need. A small operator that maybe we have some dealers right now that maybe don't have the most experience with social media, for example. Well, we have team members on board that are going to help them with their social media presence. But a big operation, they may have everything in place. They may just need other types of help, whether that's product searches, getting the products that they need when they need them. So we make sure that the service they get is right at their fingertips. And then the last part is that dealer focus that we mentioned, where we really work through our dealers. We want to make sure that you're promoting your brand and your product and making sure that we help you be successful, which is in some ways as unique as anything in the market.
Oh, for sure. And when you're looking at the dealer network itself, it's something that is a collective. You could look at it as, with dealerships across the country, each one and each individual within that dealership have their customers that maybe have certain specific things that they've learned, ways to use the drones, better ways to be more efficient, et cetera, et cetera. Well, that knowledge is easily and is our goal to make sure that we share that with the other ones across the country to give them the competitive advantage as well, be it, for instance, orchards in BC. We don't see those in Alberta much, but in Ontario. So then there's a connection across the country right there with regards to that as well. So that it does give a collective knowledge that really helps not only us grow as a distributor, but all our dealers at the same time. Because I think the big thing is that as a distributor, we understand very well that our dealers have to be successful in order for us to be. They're the ones that put the drones out and support. We support them. And so it's a relationship. It's a symbiotic one. And it's necessary for us to be a part of that.
Yeah.
So when we're looking at that as well, like I know we talked about just the T50s, et cetera. We also got to touch on all of the other things that come along with it, because we look to support the ecosystem around the drones, around the farming community. And that is, whatever drones it is, you have access to the Agrist line. Then we can get into the other ones with the enterprise drones and even the consumer drones as well. But those kind of things to help out are drone trailers, which they're being custom made for this purpose. And they work amazing. We had one of the guys, we're flying him the other day, and he said it's an incredible platform to be running off of, right down to the electric bikes that you can put on the trailer to make sure when you have to get out into the middle of the field for some reason, well, you just have it charged and you zip out and zip back. So it's kind of a full spectrum thing that we're really looking to supply.
Yeah, we sure do. And those drones, Dev, those trailers are incredible. And those are really unique to Sky Drones. They're kind of an anomaly in the marketplace. Nobody's got anything like it.
No, and it's something that, we're going to look to improve on as certain things are required or needed. But right now, running your 2 drones off of that, so you got yourself a system and all your storage, all your charging, everything all in one spot. So that's another thing that we bring to the table as well. And that's an important thing. And that's some of the roundabout things that we would do to support the drones, our dealers, and our end customers. So when you look at that, let's look at this whole package as we have right now. What is it with the dealers themselves? What do you think would make a good Sky Drones dealer?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And I've got like a whole, we work really hard to try to find, what that avatar is. But realistically, it's companies or entrepreneurs, individuals that are forward thinking, that recognize that drones are not just some trend or a toy. They are part of the ecosystem of the future in agriculture. And
Yeah.
so if they have that focus, they have a passion around innovation, they recognize that drones will give their dealership or their business a competitive edge in the marketplace by partnering with DJI.
Mhm.
And if they've got the, you'd say the sales chops and the means to be able to, manage an inventory and so on, then they're probably going to be a good fit with us here at Sky Drones.
Absolutely. So it's going back to that. Let's go back to the original question. Is now the time for agricultural drones in Canada? What do you think? What's your
Yeah.
thoughts?
Well, I would say if you want to be a market leader, if you want to have the strategic advantage in the next 2, 3, 4 years, now is the time to start, not waiting on the sidelines, because the reality is drones are going out the door by the dealers that are
Mhm.
currently in the marketplace. I've had people say, well, you know what, my customers aren't asking for them. And my personal response is that's because you're not selling them, because other people they're going to somebody else to buy it, because the internet is what it is. People can do a quick search and they can find who's selling a DJI Agris, and they
Mhm.
can start making their purchases.
Yeah.
I'll give you this one last anecdote, Dev,
Mhm.
and that
Sure.
is one of our most recent dealers that just signed on. I went to give him the good news that DJI had approved their preliminary application, and we already had the drone on his showroom floor. And his comment to me was, I wish I had started months earlier. He said the attention that the drones are getting in my showroom are phenomenal. I wish we were so much more prepared to take on what is coming for the future. So, that's an anecdote, but at the end of the day, I think it speaks to uh, acting now.
Absolutely. Because even the timeline that you were talking there, when you think about that, 3 months or a few months, we're not talking. I wish I'd last year I'd looked into this, or in my 5-year
Yeah.
plan kind of thing. It's over a period of 3 months. You saw the shift going through there. So it is something
Yeah.
that is moving quickly,
Yeah.
regardless of where you're looking at it now. It's getting to some pretty amazing places.
Yeah.
So I guess if ones are looking to revolutionize, to change the business, just by all means give us a shout. You can get us on our website. So it's the skydronesinc.com. Let us know. We'll give you a personalized consultation when you visit, and then we can work together on that one.
Yeah, and if you're still on the call, friends, and there you go. Thanks so much. We want to thank our tech guy Avery, who's our AV help, and
Yeah,
also Shaylin for managing the chat today. We so much appreciate all the help. And you can click on that link; it'll get you right to our website, and
absolutely.
you can ask away. There's no obligation. At the end of the day, we want to answer questions and see if we're a good fit together.
100%. So I guess that just leaves us with the one question: who's going to be standing without that chair in that gaming music chairs that you're talking about, eh? Or
Yeah.
was saying, I wish I'd acted sooner. So anyway, I just want to, as well, let's just thank everybody for taking some time every day to hear what we had to say. Hope we found it
Yeah.
interesting, informative. Stay tuned. We're looking at perhaps offering more of these that'll help you, negotiate this technology and help you a little bit better with all those things. So, yeah,
Yeah.
have a great day. Thanks a lot, Patrick. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Dev.